Thank you very much. Welcome back to ZealZaddy. I'm Cliff Dunn, co-creator and dungeon master for for the Dungeons & Dragons portion of Zealots of Zul. Before we get started and introduce you to our Zealots and to get back into the game, thank you very much. We missed you last week for the holiday, but I promise you a jam-packed adventure and the narrative this evening in our episode called Do You Ever Get the Feeling? Before we start with tonight's episode, I want to take a moment to introduce both a fan of the network and also a fan of ours and a friend of ours, and we're definitely a friend of his and some of the stuff that he's got going on. Morgan Duty, who's a regular here in Greater Fort Lauderdale in the gaming scene at the Adventure Game Store, which is one of our proud sponsors, and we'll give them some more love when we come back after this special segment. But we want to talk to you a little bit about some of the cool stuff that you got going on here, because you're actually you've got some neat stuff happening here at the Adventure Game Store and Dragon's Lair, and on Twitter, and also you're part of a growing but very fastly coming to the zeitgeist group who are professional dungeon masters. So I want to talk a little bit about that during our little segment here. But so welcome. Thanks very much for joining us.
I really appreciate you guys having me. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. What are you doing on Monday nights? On Mondays, you started something here.
The Mondays,
which is really taking off on social media.
Mondays for me, what it is it's like, after you played all weekend and you're like, you got to go back to work and just So the idea of Mind Flayed Mondays is where it's like, the gaming may have ended over the weekend, but it doesn't mean you have to stop and thinking about the things you enjoy. So that's kind of where that came from. I release content on Mondays, like I write blogs about D&D related stuff. I do shirts. I'm actually about to start a YouTube as well, where I talk about tips for players and for DMs. I want to keep it short, because I know there's a lot of people out there that give a lot of great content, but I want to kind of keep them short tips for you, so you can just kind of think about one little thing at a time. So it's kind of where I'm going to start off with the YouTube stuff, but the games, I run it whenever, because it's whenever a client wants to to pay for my services.
So where are you on social media? You have a growing following on Twitter.
I do have a growing following on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Where do they find you?
Mind Flayed Mondays. On Twitter, it's at Mind Flayed Mun. So it's Mind Flayed and then MON. I had to shorten it up a little bit.
Right.
But everything else, you can just type in Mind Flayed Mondays and you'll find me.
And you've got you got close to 300 followers on Twitter.
Twitter, I'm at 221 right now. I just started doing the Twitter last month. So I've been doing it for about a month and a half.
Hopefully more by the end of this.
I've been trying the tweets.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the tweets, but I'm still kind of new to it. It's really, really cool because before this, I've always just used Facebook and a little bit of Instagram. But since I started doing a stream with a group called Never Free on Twitch, they're like, you gotta do Twitter. So I'm like, all right, I'll start doing the Twitter. And surprisingly, I've been getting a lot of great feedback from people on there.
And so Never Free is you're piggybacking onto
yes.
what they've got.
So what it is it's a
Hi
group.
Folks, nice to meet you.
It's a group of online streamers. They play a lot of different video games, but they came to me and they said, hey, we're looking for somebody to run games for us. Would you be interested? And at first I thought they were just a bunch of guys and girls that were getting together for the first time. So I was like, sure. And then I found out they all knew each other. They knew each other for years. I'm like, oh man, so I'm the odd man.
Right, they were looking for somebody to run a game for them. Right, that's great. Wow.
And,
nice to meet you. Welcome to my world.
Yes.
Right.
I remember one of the guys, Freelancer Inc., he told me, he's like, yeah, you're the fresh meat, so don't mess this up. So I was like,
right.
shit.
Expectations were to a fevered pitch. These people had expectations.
Yeah,
they want somebody to bring them cupcakes with skulls on them. These are the keys to the dungeons of Mordor.
Pretty much.
Sorry, I rolled that 20.
I quickly found out
they're gluten free.
I quickly found out that they're all really, really great people.
That's cool.
Really enjoyed playing with them. They've actually taught me more about DMing than I already knew.
So your skills, you've honed your own skills working with,
yes.
as a professional.
Well, it's different. Like when you play for family and friends, and even when you do this, it's different. It has to be, because it's not just about the game, because it's a game for others. And people, for me, it's for people who are paying for it. For you, it's for the people that are watching. So it's like you got to change your dynamics a little bit about how you're presenting things. And again, as a professional, if you're I have a birthday party coming up for 9-year-olds. So, and I know it sounds crazy, and I don't usually do kids under 12.
No, it's great.
But the mom had told me like, hey, they've been playing, they really love it. And I said, all right, I'll do it.
When we were kids, when we were playing Dungeons & Dragons in high school, and I was in Civil Air Patrol, and the first game that I ran, was The Mansion of Mad Professor Ludlow, which was a module from the Dungeon, or from the Dragon magazine in like the 80s. So, and we were kids, so when I think back to how everything was fresh back then, that's got to be really cool. And these kids are, how old did you say?
They're 9.
Wow.
And so, but as a professional, I have to change a lot about how I'm going to talk to them.
Yeah, sure.
The kind of information that I'm going to give them. So you kind of change your style a little bit. It's always kind of the same, but obviously I'm going to change the wording that I use for.
Well, they're
9-year-olds.
processing it differently. They're not understand. They're going to understand on their terms.
And I
much
will
like a 39-year-old will.
I will say personally, sometimes I actually prefer to run it for kids than I do adults. Because as adults, we tend to get locked in how we think. And kids, they just have this whole big imagination about how they can see things. And it's like, when you say something and the things they come up with, it's like, okay. And it makes me have to like, okay, what am I going to do with this? You know, and but in a fun way, because now it's like, they're challenging me in a creative way that an adult would never thought to suggest.
Well, I take my needle and thread and I sew the lock shut, dude.
You're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this. But it's a really fun experience, and I actually do enjoy the professional.
That's
games.
great. Yeah. Oh no, it challenges you because you really are. You're having to. Well, much as any game, but that's really you're facing your audience and your players on their terms.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool. I love it. So I mean, it's been really cool, and I just like watching you guys play too.
Well, thank you. We
it's
appreciate
inspiring
that.
for me when I'm doing the live streams with my guys. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do as good as these guys? So, or maybe I can do better.
Oh, please don't embarrass us.
Oh wow!
No.
Dear,
So-
telling us.
If people want to find you, and so they can find you here on Mondays, and so people are. What kind of games are you playing on Monday nights?
Monday night, I play with a group of guys and girls here, and we have like 4 or 5 different DMs, and we all take turns running games. So it's ever shifting, but it's Mondays.
So it's like the old
D&D 5th edition. So.
Yeah. But I was just saying like the TV wheel with Columbo. And,
yeah. Every week's a new episode of a different show.
Right, exactly. That's kind of neat. It keeps growing.
So I'm actually like 4 different characters right now, and it's almost like hard to keep up. And they're like, "Let's do another campaign." I'm like, "Let's not." Like,
Yeah.
4 is enough.
Right, I have these ideas too. I mean, I sympathize because I'll be on the phone. I'll get Scott on the phone. I'll say, "I want to do a horror campaign," or and then of course I just finding time to do the things that you want to do. You know, it's like success is a magnitude of intensity.
There's something I want to do here. I want to do a West Marches campaign, but in Esper Genesis universe with multiple DMs, and we all like coordinate, and everybody has their own section of space, and all the players can go where. So we kind of put up posts and bounties on that fringes of space of what's going on, and the players decide what they want to do, and then talk to the DMs to see when they can run it. So it's something that I think would be really fun to do. I don't know if you guys ever heard West Marches or played those style of campaigns. It's not so much like in the city. You're on the fringes of like a frontier.
Oh, nice.
And it's deadly. It's not like always easy, but every week you can play with different players. It all depends on what you want to go after. And there is like an overarching story sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. And it's really just what the players want to explore. And the DMs can just kind of go with that. And I think that'd be so cool to do in an Esper Genesis universe. So,
Good motif.
yeah.
So Morgan Duty, thank. And by the way, that is his real name.
That
We were
is
just
my
talking
name.
about when he served in the military. People were asking him if that's your real name.
Yeah.
No, my real last name was Clown. They changed it to Duty. No, but that's excellent. And so come on down, and if you're in the Greater Fort Lauderdale area, and if you're not, find you on Twitter at
Mindflayed Mun.
Mindflayed Mun, MINDFLAYED.
And you can find all my stuff on mindflayedmondays.com. So that is my actual website for all my stuff. It takes you to my writings, my t-shirts, everything.
Okay,
So-
cool. You got merch, and if you're looking for professional DM, and he'll fly. So if you get him a round trip ticket, and,
Yes, if you want to fly me somewhere, let's do it. So
that's a big thing. So, and we'll take a short break and regroup ourselves here, and we'll begin
2 minutes.
in 2 minutes for Zealots of Zul. Thank you very much.
thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daddy's little.
I was about to say, by the way, I cannot lower the seat, so maybe you might want to raise yours up a little bit. Just to make it-
You know we're on.
We're on.
Hey, thank you very much for joining us again, and now kids,
I'll just slouch. Hey.
indoor voices, we have guests. All right, thank you very much for joining us again, and I want to thank again Morgan Duty for joining us. He's a really awesome friend of the network, and we're looking forward to doing some more stuff with him. And as we expand what we've got going on, I am certain that we're going to be seeing more of him. So before we get started, also, I want to, in addition, like just as Arslan is the CFO of the Zealots of Zul, Scott is ZealZaddy's, functions as our CFO. So we were talking a little bit about some of the things that we've got going on, apropos of those of you who are watching, and we want to give you some extra things. And so I know that for Scott's Crossroads campaign, which he runs weekdays or Sundays just in the time slot before us, which you can catch also delayed on our YouTube channel, ZealZaddy. And you can also catch this on Twitch for, was it about 60 days that it's held up? But you can catch us on YouTube. We're going to be doing some exclusive content on YouTube, including the lost episode of what happens to Alexides when he goes to visit Lord Bartisane Asur, his countryman from the Coranian Empire at Land's End, which is where we will rejoin our zealots tonight. But that's going to be exclusive YouTube content that our YouTube subscribers will be able to see, and we're going to have that posted sooner than later. So thank you very much again.
I'm a YouTube subscriber. Can I see that?
It will be exclusive.
Yes!
Everyone will get to see it.
Yes!
And then we will take you to the doctor. Fix the area of your brain. So we're going to have more exclusive contract and exclusive content apropos of that. And let's talk a little bit about how we can get our friends more involved. Scott.
Well, the first place would be Patreon, where we have some new content getting ready to go up this week, both from Crosscodes and from Zealots of Zul.
Including tonight's notes. Don't you look, they're all reading. Oh, what do I see? There's highlighted stuff. So we will have notes that will be posted from games that will be exclusive content that you'll be able to see. I don't need to cut you off, Scott, but I'm excited about that.
It's not cut off, it's a conversation.
Not a speech.
It's just back and forth.
Yeah.
We post a lot of things on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, particularly Facebook, because we can do longer form content. And if you've ever seen the Zealots of Zul posts on our Facebook page, they are in depth.
Yeah, they're meaty.
They're meaty posts.
Yeah. And we want to give you that kind of content so that you can participate and know that what's going on in the world around you. That's why also our Oracle, who is our content producer live while we stream on Sundays. Izzy is not with us tonight. She's got a touch of that same thing. I think one of the characters on Star Trek Discovery caught in the second season. So she'll be back though in hopefully next week.
Yep.
And we're also short a zealot. Kepri is not going to be here, played by our. We're short two actually.
Yeah.
Two of our friends are not here. Kyle is not here. He's also got the croup, the ague, if you will, and Jake is not here because he's got some work things that have taken him outside of the pill. But as I said, Alexides is occupied, and that content will be available. So people can get involved on Patreon.
Yep.
And it's not very much of a commitment.
Not all. It starts at $2 and goes up from there to different levels. We just started really giving some real attention to it now that we've had a little bit of time to build up a background and a backstory and some things going on. So now we're going to start getting more content, meatier content, and getting some things going on there. Also on Discord, you can discuss the games. It's just starting to get active now. It's funny that it's happening around the holidays. You'd think they would get inactive, but I'm feeling they're going to pick up now. And between now and November and January, it'll be a big jump.
So you can follow us on Facebook at ZealZaddy. You can also follow us at Zealots of Zul. ZealZaddy is the general aggregate where you'll find information on both Crosscodes and Zealots of Zul. Zealots of Zul has its own dedicated page which aggregates the Zealots of Zul content. And of course, Patreon, you can get it for as little as $2 a month, and also at ZealZaddy. So thank you very much, and let's jump into it now. Now that we've done all that commercial, thank you also to our sponsor, the Game Store and Dragon's Lair. It sounds like Sabine is coming down with the. Oh, you've been kind of battling something.
No, I had the flu like a month ago, and
Government.
just the cough will not go away.
All right.
So don't get this flu, people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Get your
Oh,
flu
it's-
shot. That's all they needed to do was just not catch the flu.
Yes.
God, why didn't you
That is
stop?
actually
It's so
the way
simple.
to do it. I know. I
It's
wish
so
someone had
simple.
told me before I caught it, but no one did.
So rude.
Well, feel better. In the meantime, we are grateful to our absent friends, and hopefully that Jake and Kyle have a great night, and we'll look forward to seeing them again soon. And let's start with our introductions over here with you.
Hello, I am Mike T. I play Atlas. I am born and bred in Batishar, and I am a master rogue.
I'm Scott Coventry. I play Arslan Abderrahmi. I am a rogue also, a Trancosi, which if you see any of the content that Cliff posts, you'll find out what they are. Alright.
I would like to know. We still don't know what the Trancosi is.
Yeah. I mean, in game.
Or out of game right now, I think.
I mean, she's.
Well, they don't. They don't know necessarily that you are Trancosi, right?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know
So
you are.
since, which is the reason why it hasn't come up, but there is content for it. There's content.
Interesting. Secret content.
I love content. My mother was a saint. We'll never get it.
I'm Anna. I play Sabine, who we learned last time is from Vadishar, whatever that means, and but was not born here. And she's a bard, spy, various other things. Courtesan.
Is it that you were from here but not born here, or
Yes.
born here but not from here?
I am from here, but not born here.
Gotcha.
That was the distinction I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alex. I play Anupam Dewar, the master monk, since somebody likes to throw master in front of their job titles now.
Well, let me just also offer that in his defense, and I don't mean to, I love all of my zealots equally. Liar. Atlas is probably 20 years older than Anupam.
That's fair.
So
That's
I want everybody to understand that this is not, it's like I said to my recent ex-coworker, it's more charming when other people say it about you than when you say it about yourself. But in the case of Atlas, he is a braggart, and so it is natural for him to revert himself as a master thief.
You know what? That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair. You know what? I didn't take that into
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I meant that in the most lovable way, by the way. He's a lovable braggart.
What is it?
That's the question. Well, that's the philosophical question right there. Is it true or is it bragging? But is it bragging if it's true?
Well,
Alright.
me being the level of monk I am, I would know that everybody lives their own truth.
Ooh, well played, young man. Well played.
It's like bubbles coming out of the pipe.
Exactly.
Alright, yeah. So, I am Good Warren. Originally from there, born and raised, up until recently, where I am now in Vadishar, trying to make my way back to my home eventually, but not until I can do what needs to be done to retake it.
Oh, good one. The Kingdom of the Rakshasa.
Wow. You know what? Too soon, man. Too soon.
Well, yeah, that's brutal, dude.
Yeah.
That's like saying Ukraine, the land of Putin.
That's terrible.
Some people might take offense. Just saying.
Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Nice kitty.
Pull the band-aid off that one.
So we rejoin our characters, and tonight's episode, I feel like the announcer on the old Quinn Martin series. Tonight's episode, do you ever get that feeling?
I mean, only on Taco Tuesdays.
You're using a lot of references lost on the
I get it.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I won't.
Columbo.
Well,
I
this is
know
what they
Columbo
call
is.
dad humor. Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. We're gonna stop that. Let's put this embarrassment behind us, shall we? Arslan and and Attalus had previously taken it upon themselves to escort Alexides, our absent Khoranian prince, to an estate in the countryside beyond Vadashar, a place called Land's End, which is the estate of a former and now exiled Khoranian senator named Bardasain Asur, who has many connections both in Quran, but also in Vadashar, since he spent much of his youth in this area. He actually comes from the Dipatana, which is the closest Khoranian province, a little bit farther west. So he lives there, and Alexides, who comes from the Khoranian Empire, which is a very large, out of the immediate area, expansionist state, although it hasn't been expansionistic for 25 years since its last foray into this region. Alexides is, who is not with us, he's a prince who is on his grand tour, let's say, at the moment, and he's attached as a prince to the Ziggurat of Baal here in Vadashar. So you escorted him out of the city, and it took you the better part of the day to get him there. And
To the vineyards.
through vineyards and orchards, olive trees, and many rich and sumptuous estates, all of which were both extremely inviting and peaceful, but also you could tell were guarded by very professional and skilled mercenaries in the employ of the nobles of the Valley of Caliph, which is the large geographic area, probably about the size of Oregon, let's say. It's a large geographic area, made up with a lot of city-states and smaller regions run by nobles and wealthy individuals. So, but you get back to the city-state, and it's evening when you get back to the city. There's no city wall. There's no
Right in.
Yeah, there's no curfew, and there's no way of get stopped in. But there are roads, but it's evening, and so there's not a lot of traffic going into the city. And roll a d20 and tell me what you get. Hopefully a high number.
Both of us or just him?
Just arson. What'd you roll?
4.
Roll 4. Okay, and what's your intelligence?
18.
Oh, okay. So you get a decent bonus, right? But you still rolled a 4.
I just didn't know what I was rolling for, so.
Understood.
I rolled a 4.
There you go.
As you and Attalus ride through the low dunes of the outside the city and come through the caravanserai way, where there are actually, it looks just kind of a quick count. It looks like there are 3 good-sized caravans that have recently arrived in the city, and it's evening, so they probably got there just maybe all about the same time, and maybe not too long ago. So there's not a lot of so they're bedding down for the night. There's not a lot of commercial type activity at this time of the night.
Business will get busy tomorrow.
And you see some official, some guards, and some caravan personnel that are.
Do I recognize any of the caravans?
Probably 1 or 2 of them seem familiar. You don't necessarily see anybody that you recognize, but they look familiar to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And for a moment, there's a sense of there's something from your peripheral vision that you think you see, like maybe somebody standing closer to you than you see.
So did you get this feeling that you're being watched, or of course you do?
Sometimes I do.
You're in the job of it. Are you getting that feeling? Because I'm getting that feeling. I'll look around.
There are people watching you. There's a couple of as you're coming down the narrow, a narrow path going past the caravanserai. You see that there's a couple of small fires. There's rovers from the caravans that are doing their thing. There's people, and they are watching.
Yeah,
too.
this is unusual for me to come through here.
Right.
This is common everyday
That's not
stuff.
right. That's common every day. So.
Is there any unwanted attention?
Well, you don't feel that. You don't feel any particular unwanted attention, and on the surface, you don't see. Everything seems to be above board. But yeah, there was kind of almost like a nagging thing. Like there was a feeling of something
I'm gonna
being
stop.
not quite right.
We're on horses, so I'll back the horse up a little bit. And where I was getting that feeling, is there like an alley that goes back, or is there a place that
There's many small
stalls disappear into?
I'll say that they're small structures. Some of them are storage structures. Some of them are residences that are residences and storage structures. Some of them have, have services that they provide for the caravans. There's a smith and who does emergency things as the caravan's going out of town, and that's his shack is next to it. So there's a lot of that sort of thing. The people that make their living, the last chance craftsmen that serve the caravans when they're coming in and out. And I mean, you could drive yourself crazy searching through every one of those places.
I'm not gonna search through
Only because in theory there could be somebody watching you from any one of those places. But you don't get the sense that you don't really get a feeling that it's any of those people. I mean, and if you do, it seems just like it's there's a lamb and whatever.
Sorry, I just wanted to look.
Yeah, they're gone.
What is the thing? When you have a
Whatever it
little,
is. Yeah.
you got a little prickly thing going on. And
Right on.
it's probably around let's call it late afternoon. It's not quite early evening. It's late afternoon when you get back. Okay, so it's
Still some light.
yeah,
just
there's
long
still some,
shadows.
right. Sabine, let's cut over to Sabine. You were with Anupam, and Anupam was by and large feeling very much the results of his fight with that giant at the with Bolsa's arena.
In more ways than one.
Right, but you did survive.
Yeah.
And
Lessons learned all around.
Yeah.
And Kepri was there. And,
Pepri was annoying Sabine, so she has kicked him out.
all right.
Pepri was getting in the way of
He kept
Sabine.
trying to insist that
giving
putting
care.
meat on my face would somehow help.
Right,
So,
right, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Right, it would help draw forth whatever
Right.
humors or
Right,
something.
and
So he decided to
talking
take
about
that
how
steak and cook
great-
it himself, and
Yes.
Yeah.
How
Make,
great chemish medicine was, and
right.
yes, and Sabine kicked him out.
So he was going to go make, if I'm not mistaken, he was going to make continue making the arrangements for eventually going to Fort Zalat, which is the Quranian fort where his sister Ozira will be meeting him in several weeks' time. And I believe some or all of you were going to join him on that trip. So he was going to continue on that, and he insisted on letting you know that he was going to take his meat and go where it was wanted.
It worked perfect.
Yes, he was going to take his meat and go home.
I'm
Right.
sure plenty of people would like viper meat.
My meat and I will find more pleasant company.
Yes, that sounds like the way you would say it.
And he left.
It definitely sounds like something he would say.
So leaving the two of you to, was there any business that you were, because I know that at some point you had to go back to, there was a few things that you had at the temple. Sabine was going to be taking up a permanent residence somewhere, or were you still staying at the temple?
At the moment I was staying at the temple,
Okay.
but when they move into their little
Yeah.
underground monster lair, Sabine is going to take up residence at his
Yeah.
stall,
Okay.
which is why she
At
has
our
this.
stall.
Right. which is-
Hashtag underground monster life. So you had a few things, I know you had a few things at the temple that you had wanted to get, and before it was getting too much later, it might not be a bad idea to go back to
I
the
don't
temple.
remember what she wanted to get.
It was just some personal things, some vanity items, things
Oh,
like
okay.
that. You know?
Like get her stuff from the temple?
Right.
Sure.
But and I don't know that may or may not.
Well, she would be, I mean, before that or otherwise, she'd be, tending to Anupam and
Right.
just trying to talk to him because he's very down in
Wait, you're
himself.
at the temple, right?
I mean, we came back to
Ego repair.
Yeah, to Adulus's,
Atlas's flat.
because it was nearby.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I could try to get him to the temple if once he's able to. I mean, he can walk, but
Yeah.
maybe taking him to the temple where there's better access to medicine might be a better idea.
I mean, yeah. You could walk.
How many hit points were you had taken?
After taking all those health potions, I am now at 9 hit points
Okay.
out of 27.
Okay.
He was pummeled pretty good.
He needs significant medical treatment, and
Yeah.
maybe I do not have the facilities here that they have at the temple, so that would certainly be reason enough to get to the temple.
I think so.
So
Right. That would be a good idea, and
Okay.
probably there's a utility reason to go.
Mhm.
So
I probably would have had Kepri help me get him to the temple ahead of time before our bickering got to the position where Kepri would take his meat and go home.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll
Over how to properly tend him.
Capri, I don't know how many times I could tell you this. I'm not putting the meat on my face.
I'm telling you, brother, Kimish medicine is the most ancient.
Go.
It's even more ancient
Just
than
go.
Gandharan.
Not everything
Just
ancient is good. I'm just saying.
Go.
Fine, I shall take my meat and go.
Thank you.
You have not seen the last of my meat.
I'm sure.
With apologies and thanks. But mostly apologies.
Apologies and thanks, but mostly apologies. I like that.
It's better to ask forgiveness than permission, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take him back to what I'm assuming is still my room before they kick me out. To tend to him.
Sabine, make a perception roll.
I see nothing. My perception roll is 5.
Okay, good.
Good.
And obviously it's harder helping. Once you got to the precincts of the temple, then you kind of took him in hand. And, as you approached your chambers, you don't have time to. There's it's sort of like when a group of women who are excited and partying just sort of come out of nowhere.
Party.
Oh.
Right. So
No.
you literally
No.
crashed a group of sort of well-born women who you didn't know. I mean, you would have been under any other circumstances. You would have been right up to you would have been prepared and but instead make a give me some sort of physical. What's a physical challenge? Hold on, I gotta find it. Does anybody have an extra character sheet? I apologize. I'm not. I should have a character sheet with me. I just need a blank character sheet.
Not a blank one.
Well, it doesn't have to be a blank one. It can
I have
also.
mine.
Well, I mean, you want to use that one?
Well, I just need something.
Something has the roll.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I just need to. Right. No,
Yeah,
this
something
is. That's cool. Let's distract.
perfect.
Thanks, my brother.
Yeah, there
Okay,
you go.
cool. Thank you. Apologies, folks. Give me a. Give me an athletics roll. Well, what's better, your strength or your dex?
Probably my dex, but it doesn't matter. I got a 1.
Oh! Ouch. And it falls flat on her face.
Oh,
I'm too busy trying to hold up Enopalm.
Well, you hear a shriek, a female voice say, "You elk! which is
Elk.
it's a local expression. It's a Khalifan expression. It's one that's also used elsewhere. That means someone's pretty to look at but possessing no brains.
Oh wow.
And because there are many elk, of course, throughout the fertile lands of the valley.
I think she has you confused with some type of woodland creature.
And she has what appears to be some sort of sacred. She has a beautiful decorative, what's Nietzsche? A pitcher or a ewer, that had a decorative stopper on it that is now off, and she's got the oils all over her beautiful white garments. And make a history roll with a very an easy
I was gonna say,
difficulty.
could I also get another?
You can both.
Oh, now I get an 18 plus 3.
That's a natural 20.
Okay, good. So you both.
21.
So amongst you both recognize
We actually both
amongst
end up getting the same thing, because I only got +1.
amongst the women there is who this group is leading this group, and you see standing beyond them is the archpriest. He has nothing to do with this thing. They're obviously left the archpriest. They're holding. All the women have got these decorative things. They're sacred oil, something, and it's the Princess Daphne, the wife of the patrician, who is she's in her maybe about 30. And they're all dressed very conservatively, but they're dressed conservatively like women who have got a lot of money, trying to look like they're dressing. They have.
Trying to dress down.
Yeah, no, they're wearing like Gucci finery, that sort of thing. So, their burqa is by Gucci. Whatever. All that. It's
And
all.
the Real Housewives of Vadishar?
Right, the Real Housewives of Vadishar. They are the Real Housewives of Vadishar. Right, well done. Hashtag Real Housewives of Vadishar. Well done.
The veils are the finest silk.
Our minister of hashtags
Right,
over here,
yeah.
Saeed.
There you go.
The hashtag
Nice job, man. So, but you recognize her, and you probably also give me a history roll at a moderate level with 15.
11. No. Sorry, I can't do math today. 12.
Did you know any of the women in her from our previous?
No, the only person I met was the patrician's mother.
Okay, perfect. All right, Lady Ekramala.
Yeah.
Okay, so the woman, I was just seeing if you knew who the woman who insulted you was.
Yeah.
But so she looks mortified and angry and seething and just in general looking for reasons to be pissed.
Where is she in relation to me?
They were just sort of this mass of women that were coming around a
years,
quarter.
or
What's it?
did I knock into her, or are they over there?
They just sort of appeared, It wasn't like, it's not like they
rounded the corner.
They rounded a corner, It was that kind of thing.
And did somebody knock into something, or is that how she got the
Yeah, she.
Am I in any way responsible for her getting the oil?
It could be so argued.
It was one of those things where neither of us had time to react.
Right.
Right.
And she would like so much blame.
Yeah.
And I'm there.
Right.
Okay. Alright, so she yells this insult at me?
Yes.
1,000 pardons, mistress. And I try to walk off.
Oh, hold on. You're really going to apologize to her?
Come.
She bumped into us just as much as we bumped into her.
And so what? Let me. Sorry, I apologize. I got distracted. I usually have a D20 loaded. Unless somebody wants to roll it for me.
Trying to find his way into the dungeon.
1 roll.
No,
7. Oh,
Dang it.
okay. Take it back. Thank you. The princess says, actually, what's your charisma?
Mine?
My charisma?
Hers.
17.
17. She looks at you, she says, and then she looks past you. Narthu, there isn't time. Apologies, Lady Narthu. I shall dispatch instantly my major domo with someone with sacred oil for you, and an additional ewer. Please forgive our the inconvenience, says the archpriest. And Lady Narthu makes a big show of how gracious she is. Oh, it's nothing. She folds over some, one of her whatever your people do to make them. I know what my people do. I don't know what, but she really makes an effort. But you could tell she's really. I mean, you personally know that she's really bad. Powerful entity, my friend. Well, she has so you can tell that she's just like, and make another perception roll.
Can I make this as well?
Please do.
Alrighty.
Yeah, you'll need to raise your hand.
Yeah, alright. Oh. That's a 21.
Which might die.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and change your
Use
die.
the tower, man. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Gamers are
Oh,
the most.
hail the tower.
Just out of
All
curiosity.
hail the tower.
Yeah, that would have been way
What is
better.
it? You got it?
It would, yeah.
Well, you
would've been-
recognize that several of the women there's about half a dozen women altogether. They're all dressed similarly. They're wearing these tan garments which cover their heads very modestly, but the women are all, most of them, except for the princess, who looks like she could care less. She just wants to get out of here. She just wants to get out of here. But a couple of the others, not all of them, but more than half are pleased that she's got oil all over herself.
Yeah.
Bitch.
And she's not happy, and that's really why she's unhappy about the whole thing. So she says, "Oh, it's nothing. This person, I'm sure, didn't mean anything."
Of course not, mistress. You're too magnificent.
Come, let's go. And she brushes past you, makes a show of it.
Adipum, words are cheap and easy, much like Lady Narthu.
And you just there's a few laughs, and as a few people go to the chuckle.
Enemy number one.
Lady Narthu.
So, on the plus side, Sabine's troubles get your mind off your own.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but her was like, enemy number 4058.
Or the other way, kill Lady Narthu.
Kill Sabine later.
She won't even remember who I am to her.
I'm faceless nobody to her.
She doesn't know who you are.
That's okay.
So you get, and actually the archpriest will come over to make sure. We'll go through the. You're in your quarters, correct? I understand you gave the son of the giant king what for?
That could be a good robbery.
Well, he's definitely going to be blinking a little heavy. Glass in his eyes.
He'll be fine, I'm sure.
Was there anything to be gained from it, other than that you're alive?
I'm standing behind him going,
Nothing except for a few decorative scars.
Well, as long as you're alive, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Rest, and we shall continue. We shall meet again.
Thank you.
And then what are you up to after?
I'm continuing to, I'll continue to attend to his wounds and hopefully, raise his hit
Oh,
points.
and the archpriest will also send we'll send the healer over from within, and they'll take care of you, and you'll sleep, and like a good night's sleep, you'll be back to in the morning.
I mostly wanted to tend to him because psychologically he's in a low place. It was really more what
Right.
it's about.
Doesn't take a pretty good insight check to tell that right now.
Yeah, like I'm mostly just, the healers can, doing theirs. I'm mostly like putting like warm towels on his head and things like that, and saying, really, you have to stop beating yourself up.
You'll get him next time.
No, I'm not saying that. There will be no next time. But you really must stop beating yourself up about this.
Let's remind those that are tuning in what specifically, just a little bit of some insight into what Anupam's thinking. What is it that's weighing on him about apropos of the fight and its aftermath?
Well, to be fair, I mean, if we're talking about it, I actually would be getting into it.
Okay.
So, if we're talking about it then. Have you ever seen a Rakshasa before?
No, I don't.
You're lucky then. I watched people I grew up with my entire life killed right in front of me. I've never seen something move that quickly, that fiercely before. And that thing that I lost to in the arena, it's nothing in comparison. I can't even beat that. What hope do...
You're not an army. You can't expect
That you could defeat something like that, or these Rakshasas. You're just one person.
Yes, I know. That's another reason. Because obviously, I also feel stupid for even agreeing to go into it.
You're not stupid. You're desperate. There's a distinction.
Desperation makes fools.
I hope you'll be advised by your friends from now on about such things, and realize that you're not alone. But you're also not an army. You are not expected to save your country on your own. I know you've put this on yourself, but there's no reason for it.
Who else would care enough to do it?
Friends, mercenaries, find charismatic people who can drum up support for your cause. Pay others. There are ways of raising armies. There are ways of creating rebellion. There are ways of creating dissent. Even while those in power think they're winning, you can be winning from beneath them in every conceivable way. You have to think of other strategies for beating these Rakshasa. It may not be the right decision to go at them directly. You should rest now.
Cutting across to Arslan and Atlas, you put your horses up and make your way across the Suk over towards, I'm guessing you're heading first towards to Arslan's, and actually both of you make a perception roll.
Natural 20.
Oh, nice.
I rolled a 16 with
Okay.
many pluses.
You both recognize the voice of Anad, the storyteller. First of all, you see about a half a dozen kids gathered around him, as well as a woman dropping a few coins into the dust in front of him, smiling at him, and he smiles at her. "Thank you, mistress. Blessings upon your house. All right, well, it is time." No, wait! You still owe us, old man. You still owe us a story. Tell us about the Koranian invasion. Tell us about the Rakshasas. No, tell us about the treasure house. All right, quiet, my head. Very well then.
Tell us about the treasure house.
The treasure house?
Roll a coin.
Ah, yes.
Let's see how this goes.
Many thanks to you. Of course, a princely story for a princely merchant. The treasure house, what can I say of it? Well, we must go back perhaps 20 years even, to the days, the dark days, when the lunacy took hold of Vadishar. and the hegemons of the Pearl, the cult, the madness. Law and order was their promise, but it was nothing but the boot that they brought with them. And yet, there was always the promise of better days to come. But they needed the help in the early days of their rule from the local powers, including the nobles of the valley. And so 3 of them were appointed lictors to manage the great wealth that was to be brought in by the condemnations of the prohibitions, those that stood in the way of the lictors, of the hegemon's rule. They would be prescribed, their lives forfeit, all of their wealth and possessions sacrificed. If they remained, which some unfortunates did, they were killed. Others fled into ignominy, and still more sad ones took their own lives rather than see their fortunes turn to nothing but ruination. That wealth was taken into the gardens of Kamal, the great quarter, where the nobles and wealthiest maintain their villas and palaces, guarded day and night. The treasure house, the treasure house was once such palace, a mansion owned by the lictor Count Linnaeus Palamon. And there, all the wealth that was confiscated through the prescriptions was taken and held there. Some of it peeled off so that the trash and garbage could still be collected, the guards paid, and what works allowed by the city would be funded. But a great mass of the wealth was kept within the treasure house of Count Linnaeus, the treasure house of the lictors. And there it remains to this very day. Would you care to hear another story, good master?
You know that name? The lictors of the Paladins? Do you know where that is? Or do we need to pay him more to tell us where it is?
I know where it's at.
You do. Thank you. And I'll toss him another coin. Tell a good story to the children.
Balls, blessings. Perhaps another day, children. Dear, precious children. Come with me into the shade and I shall tell you my tale. Wait, you promised it.
I want to hear about the viper.
I was going to
What about the workshop?
side up to him and say,
yes.
that item that I had you.
I have information for you, perhaps.
Can let's find somewhere private to talk.
No, come! You promised us.
I
perhaps
grab a handful of copper. Scatter them.
Before you do that, he says there might be a better time. I will seek you out.
I'll start.
Okay. and they scatter.
Okay. Thank you.
Shiny days.
Nice.
So where is this treasure house?
Within the walled part of the city.
Oh.
Remember when you and your group of friends found me in the prison?
Yes.
Well, I
Help you with your escape, as it were.
yes. I was.
Everything needs to become a good story.
I happened to find my way in there, and well, I was caught. I didn't have the proper paperwork.
But for you to not have the proper paperwork would have required you to already be caught in the walls, not at the gate.
No, I was caught inside.
So, did you find the treasure house?
I didn't get that far. I was just making my way around.
Would you be able to map out what you already know?
Yes.
Would you be able to... I know that you are a careful man. Would you know the schedules of the, say...
The patrols.
The patrols and the guards of the area?
Well, that was part of what I was
Not
doing.
really getting anything yet.
No, that was part of what I was doing there. I was probing seeing, how far I could get.
So how far did you get?
Not very far.
How did you get in? Through the underground?
Scalable.
You went over. Oh,
That is one way to do it, and of course that is it. If you get caught, then of course you find yourself in the.
I heard the
black
underground
house.
was a safer, easier way in. But
Well,
I'm
not necessarily.
100%
Not
sure.
not safer or easier.
Another way in.
Another way in, yeah.
Was another way in. Have you tested those waters?
Perhaps literally.
I know there are some that know of those. I do not know much about those ways in because those are guarded secrets.
There is someone who might be able to help with this. The Beggar King. Doesn't he owe?
I'm doing some work for him, so maybe
some information is in there that needs to be obtained, and maybe he could assist in getting us through.
I believe he
That
could.
might be an interesting use. I mean, anything named the Treasure House, unless it's in the Silk District, is of note and worth inspection.
Oh, most certainly. That is where they took the stories about how much they took from the wealthy merchants and the nobles that didn't bend the knee. There's untold amounts of wealth there.
That's the kind of wealth I'm most interested in.
You went down.
The untold kind.
Untold amounts of it. I think we should set up shop soon so that we have a place for safer discussion of this. And potentially to start looking for inroads that are less tested.
I would agree. Doing it.
It's the most unsafe part of the city for us.
Right. But doing it by myself was a little difficult. But I was bored, and truth be told, there are quite a bit of wealth to be found.
We have nobles and spies amongst our friends. Something in between there would be a useful way of.
Because they can get us entrance into the.
Correct.
You have to have papers to get in there to get access.
Right.
That
Very
was
interesting.
When I was apprehended, the paperwork I had did not.
Stand up to scrutiny.
That would be a good way to describe it. Yes.
How bad was the forgery?
It was pretty good,
But they're very good.
Apparently the name that I had on the paper, that person had vacated within the last month or so. So it's working on
I see.
some old information I found out.
Okay. We should check on a palm at some point soon, but I think this is worth mapping out a concept on how to make something like this happen.
Oh, that's most definitely. I had a group that I had worked with previously, and we had talked about doing something like that, but then they lost their heads, so.
Let's not remain with that group.
Is this literally or figuratively? Oh, okay.
No one says that unless it's literally. So, if you were to go in again, knowing what you know now, how would you go in now?
I would be disguised.
I wish we knew someone that could help with that.
That's and we have to get some good paperwork. That's where I think maybe Alexides or maybe your other Kepri or Sabine might be able to lend a hand to, because it's having paperwork that shows you're going to see somebody within this area.
You either have to live there, and by the way, just as a quick sidebar, information on the Gardens of Kamal will be available on.
Probably Tuesday.
Or I should say on what platform?
Oh, on Patreon.
On Patreon. Okay.
Yes.
So which will let you know exactly what specifically the Guards of Kamal are, some history
And
about
I
them.
didn't know that
Okay.
until now.
And so that means I have to work really hard. Well, it's all written, so I just got to get it to you. But you do know that it's a walled area. It's filled with many spires and palaces, villas.
Guards.
And it's very heavily guarded. I mean, although you don't know, you know that there is the largest permanent detachment of Black Helms. The city guards are attached there. There are 3 schedules. It's a post that is attached there, and within that there are. I mean, I'm just shooting you facts that you know. Some of the noble houses within have their own retinues of guards. By law, they're limited, but they do within their house. You also know that only those who live there have a permanent. Probably ivory or some natural, what we'd call naturalistic material. Sorry, some sort of
something that they could show
to show that it's in there, right? Because it is walled. You have to get in there. And if you don't live there, then you must have business there, and typically that requires some other token or written officialdom that lets them in there. And even if you do, you're subject to being harassed. But it's so beautiful in there. I mean, it was set up as the garden of the first king, a giant king, in fact, set it up as these spectacular gardens.
You won't bump your head.
Right.
Out of curiosity, is that where Lord Kempel lives?
He does not live there. That would be
Too
easy.
convenient.
Yes. But nice thought, though. And Lord Kenthon is the ambassador from Vinar for those two. Where were you heading, by the way, as you're talking? I think
heading to your
your
stall, and
okay.
then I wanted us to go check on a palm. And now my wheels are turning in other ways. We may just go right past my stall. Did you need anything?
No, just check in to see if everything's okay.
Mr. Osland!
Oh.
And it's Tarutinos. Yep, write it down. That's your test for tonight. Tarutinos. He works for you.
I loved him in Pulp Fiction.
He was great, right?
Tarantino, yeah.
Tarutinos. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Your friend.
Anupam?
No, not the one who gets the crap eaten out of him.
Wow.
Oh.
Capri.
The great merchant Eliendro was by to see you.
Oh. That's his caravan that came in.
No. Eliendro is a member of is actually a very, very wealthy merchant. He is a very wealthy merchant of Vadashar. He is a member of the Vadashar Bourse, which is the stock exchange of the city.
Oh.
And he's so extremely connected, and he said he's going to be at the Oasis if you would care to join him.
Yeah, we'll be going to the Oasis. Thank you. How's business in the shop today?
I wasn't there for most of the day, if the truth be told. But tomorrow's another day.
There are 3 caravans here. I just got in.
I'll be there first thing.
Good help.
I'll be there before first thing.
Good help trying to find.
I'll be there minus first thing.
Please make sure it's clean and in good shape before guests arrive. Thank you. Let's go.
And okay.
Well, the Oasis.
Owned by
Interesting.
your friend Hashi Benjara. Look, in Old Town in the Medina, and located just down the street from the Gilded Palm. And on the way, actually, where were you heading, Sabine?
I actually decided to stay with Anupam tonight. I put him to bed, tucked him in, and I'm going to sleep with Anupam tonight.
Okay, sweet. All right. Nice. All right, so you are in, and that takes you to the
Oasis.
which is in Old Town.
This is quickly becoming a favorite haunt of ours, it seems.
It's one of my favorite places.
It's a gaming hall and a place to drink and both make and lose money.
Mostly lose.
We hope. I know I'm gonna fall out of this chair. Make a splattery noise.
That's okay, we'll loop it,
Hopefully
and we'll
not.
just like have a
All right.
special bloopers edition.
Right.
Somebody sent a message around here to someone. Like
Like,
around the Oasis, would there be people who can take messages around, or how would you do it? Would you need to go to a place to?
Well, how do you mean?
Like, I'd like to send a message to Sabine and ask her. I'd like her to maybe look into.
Well, I mean, you have your
you have employees.
yeah, you have
Yeah, but he's not here with me now.
Well-
We're at the Oasis.
Oh, okay.
Send for him.
Well, how do you get a
Where's the
message to
message?
Tarantino? This goes back to the original
If
problem.
I would do that, I could just send a
I
message.
just might as well just send the message direct.
What
and
are
say,
the urchins?
Yeah.
The urchins.
Street urchins.
Well, if
Kids.
you go to
Kids, maybe.
Yes.
Kids running around the street.
there's always somebody
The ones
that
who,
can.
the ones who
No,
are.
no, no.
for the
There
game.
will. It's a very good question, and because we don't want to get too bogged down.
Yeah, I
into
know.
it.
I
This
can
will be
just
one
send
of
a
those.
message.
Right exactly.
Okay.
In the scheme of things, it would be Arslan got a message to. And who
Yeah.
are you getting a message to?
I want to
Oh,
send
you
one
want
to
to send a
Sabine
message to
because
Sabine.
I don't have time to go all the way to the temple. I'd rather not keep this person waiting,
Right.
but I'd like to get information to her to start, if she could, to start looking into if she knows anyone or has any inroads into the walled part of the city.
Well, you
And
know
then
that you know
also-
that Hashi can get a message to her when you get to the Oasis.
Okay. And then
That much you know. You know you
we're
both know
meeting
that.
a
a very worldly.
potential client, or a client, it is already a client,
Who are you talking about? The Eliandra?
yes, Alejandro,
Eliandra. Yes.
that
Make another. Oh, sorry. Carry on.
I'm trying to get my thoughts right on this.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a wealthy merchant,
He's a power merchant.
right? He is potentially a really great contact for us.
He
And
is
if
a
we're going
client.
to
He
have-
does go to you for certain things.
Right, and at this point, if we're gonna make something bigger of ourselves, I think we need to start spreading our contact information with each other.
As to who you know.
Right.
In other words, you, for instance, Lord
Yes.
Kenthon, as an example, you know that she knows him, so that
Yes.
would be like, aha! If the matter of Vinar comes up, you would say, oh, I know my friend Sabine knows.
And it'd be,
right. Or Anupam is.
and I know
Partial
she
to
has
our
good
justice.
insight on people when she meets them that maybe I miss or that someone else might miss. And it'd be good to maybe have her show up while we're sitting here eating or whatever with
Eliandra.
Alejandro.
Ellie, if you want to go keep it short, that's what he goes by.
I'm okay with, oh, okay.
But you can call him Eliandra.
You know, one of the things that as a group doing something very radical that I think we're doing, it would behoove us to start spreading the knowledge with each other about the people we know so that we can start figuring out who our opportunities could be.
Sure.
For lack of a better word.
That might be tough with Sabine.
Okay.
No, I just mean, you know by now she's a spy, and you're asking her to spill all of her contacts.
I've learned things from you already that I'm sure you would not want people to know,
Yes,
and maybe other
absolutely.
people to know.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know whether there are things you wanted me to know, because I would
I think it
know.
comes down to that old saying. What was it like? I've taught you everything that you know, not everything I know.
Yes.
Right, but to do what we're doing, we need a spy master.
So we'll send word for
or
Sadie
we're going to
to
fail.
meet us.
Yeah.
No, you haven't gotten there yet.
This city's way too dangerous to not have somebody who's got their ear to the ground everywhere. And you're the only spy master I
We're
know.
still on our way
Anyway,
to
Well, that's you said you wanted to get this.
He's not wrong.
You wanna know what?
You said so.
so I'm sending a word to her that about.
Okay, but before you get there, make a perception.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Him?
the
cocked.
polar opposite of the good number.
Do I get to go to
I hit my head on the door.
Oh, you rolled a 1?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
natural though, not.
Oh, it was a natural one. There's nothing modified about
well,
it.
hey.
I'll be like negative first thing in the morning. That's why you bump your head in the door, because you get that feeling again. But you get my friends, come in, your table is waiting. And it is Hashi.
Sorry, I got lost in thought or
You okay?
something.
How have you been, friends?
You know that feeling. Again. Somebody's
That's going to leave a
watching.
mark.
Thank you.
A glass of wine for me, for my friend in that.
He's had too many already.
He needs one after that.
Make a perception roll. You need different dice.
You made up for it, and that was better.
Oh, that one is better.
19.
Okay, you see Eliandro also when after you get in, after your bump on your head stops smarting. You see as you're making your way through, there's seated on couches is Eliandro, who's probably a man in his late 60s, you know.
My friend, I'm glad that I caught up with you.
Arslan, I'm glad you made it when while I'm still sober.
I wish I had waited a little longer then. This is my friend Atlas, Eliandro, Ellie.
The great Atlas, son of Rathic. Your reputation precedes you. I'm honored and tongue-tied to be in the presence of such a legendary sharpsman of Vadishar.
I'm just,
Come sit down, and it's
Thank you.
please chocolate for my friends here. And they bring over it's coffee, but it's chocolate. It's made of chocolate, and it's liquid chocolate, but it's not obnoxiously so, and you can add liquor to it, and
Yes. Bump my head on the way in. I'll add a little liquor to the chocolate if you don't mind.
not at all. Please
all of us.
help yourselves and make a perception roll, Atlas. I know you.
I was gonna ask who was in his company.
Well, he's alone. He's by himself. He's seated there, but you can make a perception roll.
13?
Okay, and make a history roll.
14.
Okay. That was 14 with your bonuses?
Yeah.
Okay. So you recognize seated not too far it's a gambling hall, and it's a gambling hall on several levels, and there are people gambling and enjoying themselves, and you see somebody who's doing very well. You recognize is Kumsal, who is the nephew, also known as Figs, which is Figs is a local euphemism. A fig is a local euphemism for money, so he is known as Figs. He's the nephew of Kanib Rugamba, therefore he is Zimbalan by birth. They're dark skinned, and he has long hair in the style of dreadlocks. And you see he is very animated, and he is playing some sort of dice game. Yes! Yes! I've got you now! And he's actually making a scene, right? It's not necessarily charming. It's not as charming as I'm making it seem. Let me just
Is there a pile of...
I've made my charisma roll. Yeah! Eat that, you son of a bitch! I will destroy you! He says.
Are there a pile of coins in front of
they're
him?
pushing coins over his way. Atlas, please sit down and enjoy yourself. Says Leandra, interrupting your hot moment for a second. Bringing you back into cold.
So what?
It's very interesting that you should be here, because it was for this very reason that I came looking for you, and they bring you food and
This feels a little bit like buttering up. Is all well?
if the truth be known, your doctor asked me to speak to you. No, I was on my way here, and it's just happy circumstance that you're here. But the truth is that I have been asked recently after you in connection with your relationship to another person. Which is why my paths crossed, which is why our paths crossed now, but which is why I came seeking you earlier.
I see.
Now, of course, I've lived long enough to know that it's better to keep your mouth shut, and nobody needs to know anyone else's business. We're all better off that way.
Oh, I totally disagree.
I say that as a person who doesn't want anyone to know my own business.
Oh, I don't mean your business.
That having been said, I do not divulge anything. I neither divulged my relationship, my business and personal relationship with you, nor did I claim any knowledge of the master thief Atlas of Badashar. But I do know that somebody is making inquiries.
Interestingly, I felt eyes on me all day today. In the souk, even outside here.
When we came into town.
When we first came into town, it's been a very odd day, and I'm pretty good at noticing when people are eyeing me for whatever reason, and I have felt it all day and not been able to pinpoint it.
While they're conversing, I'm just kind of looking around to see if there's anybody just taking...
Make another perception roll.
Undue notice of the conversation. 24.
You don't see anybody taking particular notice. You do see that the Kumsa has now moved on to, he's gambling, but he's also engaged in more amorous pursuits as he games. And, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was saying that I've been feeling like I've been being watched or something all day today. It's been a very unusual feeling, because normally I can pinpoint when that happens if it goes on very long. It has been not that type of a day. And we came in from out of town, late in the afternoon. And I felt it then, I felt it on the way in here. It has been... So people are making inquiries. Are they inquiries of ill or inquiries of...
Of what nature are the inquiries?
Well, he just said, he just told you. I can repeat what he said. He said, no, people are asking. People are asking if your people are asking if your business is only, I. He orders a drink. One of my servants was asked if you have any involvement in the Lotus trade. I would certainly have no particular knowledge of that one way or the other. I wouldn't place too much weight into the questions themselves.
Right. But as someone who is not involved in the Lotus trade, it's very interesting that someone would be inquiring in that way, potentially as a setup.
Well, certainly the nephew of the man who controls the Vadashar Lotus trade
Is right there.
would take interest in that, or you to be involved in it, just for your own personal understanding. I think it's a good idea to be cautious at this moment. And Hashi comes over to your couches and says, "I have sent a message to the Ziggurat Rubal, to your friend,
Thank you.
and we're going to take a short break and come back in 10 minutes. Thanks for staying with us, all right?"
And we are back.
Thank you very much for rejoining us after our break. I'm Cliff Dunn, your Dungeon Master. This is Zealots of Zul. We understand, by the way, for those of you watching in real time on Twitch, you're seeing the Crosscodes information still showing up there. That's going to be changed in post. This won't mean really anything if you're watching this on YouTube. So let's go past this. But those of you that are watching and have pointed out, thank you very much in real time. Very quickly, one of our zealots is down with the ague, with the quarantine fever, as they used to have in the Middle Ages, and Kyle is not here. But Kemper, you made an insight 2 weeks ago that was extremely insightful at the end, and I want to touch and reward you for that by giving you an insight chip. And I can't remember what it was that I'm rewarding you for. It was connecting the dots for something. I know it's going to come to me, but you may remember it was like the last thing that happened. We can always find it on the tape, but it happened at the very end where there was an insight.
Because they were talking about the diplomacy, and he was that when he was talking about
Missile trade?
Maybe like one of the last things before that, because I think he wasn't even there for that. So.
It was something that it was an insight that he had. So.
Oh, maybe it was about the brawlers inside the arena. I mean, remember the blue cloaks that were in there?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Right, he had an insight about you made an
Oh,
insight.
that it was planned.
Yeah.
That
it was
all-
connected.
Oh no, it was because Sabine had.
That it was connected.
That's
to
what
Sabine,
happened
right?
because he made that connection. I remember
You're
now.
very sharp at that.
Now I remember.
It was
He
a
made
great
that connection.
insight. So, excuse me, went down the wrong pipe. So, it was a great insight. So, you're not here tonight, but we'll get you an insight chip. And what do we use that for again? I'm always half a beat behind. That gives you a bonus for
Yeah, you can use it for advantage.
right for later, moving forward. So, thank you. That was good. Before we took our break, Arslan and Atlas are at their friend Hashi Benjara's gaming hall called the Oasis, and where they are meeting with Eliandro, who's a wealthy merchant and member of the Vadashar Stock Exchange, the Bourse, where things like the very wealthy commodities such as olives, the wine grapes, livestock, etc., are purchased in large, or shares of such are purchased and sold. Right. And so he's very wealthy. But you also know that Eliandro has had a full life, that he spent most of his life in Vadashar. He made a lot of money, and that he's both made and lost fortunes. You know that.
Did he know my father?
Rasul.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
So that's the connection.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And in fact,
so he's been a family friend.
correct.
As much as anything else.
Yes, correct. And he was actually a customer of Rasul's prior to you inherited him as a customer. Correct. At the ziggurat of Baal, there's a knock on the door, and a junior priest comes and brings you a message that brings you a message from Arslan, and it reads, "If you can, meet me at the Oasis in the Medina."
That's a good simple message. Much simpler than I was thinking, but that's exactly perfect.
I make sure he's tucked in and sleeping.
Well, he's awake.
Oh, I tell him to go to sleep then.
I mean, doesn't Arslan need us over there?
I'm sure he doesn't need you right now. You should rest.
Feel a little useless if I don't go.
It's up to you.
My wounds will heal. Let's go.
Alright.
And you
Out
feel
of
better.
character. I love the dynamic you two have. It's so cool. Like a little married couple.
Don't tell me what to do, woman!
Well, I wouldn't have to if you would take care of yourself. My God.
All right.
As you leave the temple and the precincts of the ziggurat, you actually see someone that is not unfamiliar to you. First, you hear him. There's an unkempt. It's hard to say if he's a beggar or a holy man, but he's known as Farouk the Mad, and he lives in a shack actually in this area in the Gate of Heaven quarter, and mostly relies on charity from the few decent souls that live within for his well-being. His hair is wild, his eyes are wild, and he looks like he doesn't. If he eats regularly, he's got a very high metabolism because he is very skinny and he dresses only in a filthy loincloth. Mostly, he communicates by spitting profanities at passersby. You are damned! Repent! Repent, you fool! Harlot! You harlot! And he looks directly at you. Make a religion roll.
Oh, I thought he was pointing at Anupam.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well, he was calling you a harlot, but he was pointing at her.
I mean, I know my robes don't cover everything, but my goodness. Slut shame much?
Cover yourself, I see it!
Oh, should I make a religion as well?
7.
Okay. You don't know what this is.
7 is a holy number. It should be an automatic, like a D20 on a religion roll.
You don't, no.
Okay.
But he has these burning dark eyes, and they lock on you, and his lips curve back in a snarl, and he says, You harlot of Venar, you shall be swallowed whole by the great worm from beyond. And around that time, 2 of the black helms, move you! And they curse him and shove him, and it's a wonder he doesn't break in 2 when he falls over, but he gathers himself, spits curses, dogs! And moves on. But looks at you again. And you.
I stare straight back at him.
And somebody tosses him a crumb of bread, and he snatches it up with disdain.
Come along.
I have disdain for you. I have scorn.
Now, this might sound like a silly question, but
There are no
can I-
silly questions. Silly people.
That's fair. Can I make an insight roll on this guy? I mean, I know he's probably not all up there. I can tell at least that much.
You
but,
can make an insight.
See if there's anything I can probably.
And he continues to cry about your imminent destruction as he
An 11.
enough for particularly
It's an
insightful.
11. It's fine.
I too would like
Cool.
to make an inside roll if that's okay.
That's much better than mine.
And that's plus 17.
He sounds very sincere. I mean, he sounds like he was very sincere and like he really believed you will be swallowed by the great worm from beyond.
Okay.
He said it with a moral certainty.
It's like how
I wouldn't fuck with the guy.
It's like how do you understand somebody who's not all up there?
But he seemed sincere and certain.
About the worm swallow.
He certainly believes there will be a giant worm that will come and swallow us whole. So
Interesting. Okay.
What does he know? You know, when you're born and they call you the Mad, they must know something. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's what his parents named him. Oh, well, that changes
His legal
everything.
name.
That's his legal name.
And so with the 2 of you, and you are actually give me a roll a d20 and tell me what you roll.
You got it. It's a 5.
Okay.
Just feeling like perception rolls left and right.
You're
Yeah.
you're feeling okay.
That
I mean,
kind of
you're still. I mean, whatever they did to you, you're feeling intoxicated by it.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to have had a salubrious effect.
Oh, they
on
gave me
you.
the good stuff.
Yeah, they
Okay.
did give you the good stuff.
Okay.
And the two of you go from the gate of heaven to, which is walled, to the Medina and the oasis, and within you come upon Arslan and Attalus, with another man who is older, with a beard. No, I'm sorry, he's clean shaven. He's got graying hair and dressed extremely well.
Alejandro, I want you to meet some of my other friends. Come. Sabine, Anupam, this is my friend Alejandro.
You extend your hand. Well, make give me what would you roll for that? A performance roll?
Sure.
Okay.
Persuasion, maybe?
Well, they're both the same.
For a handout? Very interesting that is a persuasion check. Wow.
I mean,
19.
That's impressive.
Okay. Well, he's very persuaded by your performance, and you can tell he's charmed. Please have a seat. And he stands up. What can I get for you? Oh, and your name?
And you're here too.
Eliandro of Vadashar. Nice to meet you.
and you as well.
Come, my friends. And what did you say your name was, my dear? Sabine. Where are you from?
I'm from Badishar.
All right.
Collectively, we're moving into some new facilities soon. And I'd love you to come and see it when we open our doors.
Is that work that's being done at the old place that was owned by Zabrak that's been shuttered up all this time?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad it's going into friendly hands.
Notice the new door.
Yes, it did.
With the lock.
With the lock.
Make sure the lock is stout.
Yes. You know, there will be other protections inside.
Well, that's good. One can't be too conscious of security in these days. And especially if you are about the sort of business that might require you to be able to keep something valuable in the lock and key.
Oh, of course.
I don't know if I ever told you this, Arslan, but I remember the day Rasul left. I was there, you know.
I did not know. Tell me.
Does that name strike any memories with me?
Make a history roll. It's gonna be hard.
Okay. 16 plus 5.
How much? 20. Really? 20? You remember that shop. I mean, you remember, Rasul who was there. Yeah, you remember the old man that used to run the shop. And it's higher end merchandise. It's imports, very fine
So
oil.
this conversation, I'm starting to connect the dots. Oh, this is okay. Gotcha.
And he said, I always suspected that Rasul was a spy and that he served the Dread Overlord.
What?
He dropped hints. And I suspected he was summoned on the last day. He didn't look pleased, but he knew that he had a contentment, a resignation, and even an understanding that he had done what he had to do.
Dread Overlord, is that not the leader of the North?
Oh yes. Well, he, along with the Hierophants of Erlich and Throne.
He whispers.
I don't want to bring the wrath of.
I had never heard or seen anything of. I had never heard or seen anything that would have. I could have connected to that. Or if I did, it was above my understanding at that time.
He was. I suspect most of his spying days were in his past. He probably, as many do, became native. I wouldn't be surprised if they were if they themselves were surprised that he responded to the summons.
Going back,
He may have had something to lose back home also. That's possible.
when he left, I never saw him leave. He was just gone. I mean, I was a boy, but the next day I was not. I wouldn't say I was a man, but I was definitely changed. And I do remember that you remained as a customer of the shop, so I'm assuming that your allegiance or loyalty, friendship with him is what kept you in touch, kept you connected.
It was a difficult burden that you had, and as it seemed that there was no change, there was no need. Our friendship was long established before his departure.
When you said on the last day, was that the day before everything turned to crap? From what I understand.
Which are you referring to? Larger
No,
events?
when his dad was recalled, you said he on that.
It wasn't.
day.
Right.
Well, because there was a pivotal time when everything kind of turned to shit real quick.
When the hegemons.
Well, you're talking about in the larger events of the city there.
Right, yeah.
That did not. That was a separate. That didn't have. It did not.
Connected
It
at
did
that
not
time.
bear.
Okay.
Right. Correct.
This man, how is he connected to you? Rasul, you said?
Russell was my father.
Yeah, I was going to say, picking up on the context of it.
So your father was a Venaran spy. How unexpected.
Out of game. We're talking. We're
I
referring to the owner of the.
100%
We're
agree.
referring to the owner of the stall.
Right.
So
I
you're
understand.
adopted
Right.
father.
I understand.
Okay. I just want. I want.
I'm leaving it at that.
I understand that. I don't want to. I'm not. I have no problem with your choice of language. I just wanted to.
It was a conscious choice.
Yes.
And
Like,
by the
I was
way,
happy with that.
And by the way, Anupam would like to make an insight check. Not that he doesn't believe you. Not that I don't believe
do I need to
you.
do a counter insight again?
No. Not that I don't
Is there
believe
such a
you.
thing? Oh, you guys could keep checking
Not
each other.
that I don't believe you, but it's just he would definitely want to. He would definitely have that mindset
Horrible
of does he already
diplomacy.
just basically trying to tell if you are if this surprising information to you basically.
You don't need to make an insight check.
Okay.
It's
Well,
You can tell that he's
people
shocked
can
by
act,
it.
people
right?
can act surprised. I'm just saying. I mean, to be fair, just to make sure.
sure.
Just for the sake of.
What's your role?
Did you just ruin your chance to
Yes,
know
I did.
the honest
I did.
simple
He
truth?
doesn't even know you're sitting there.
Forgot you were sitting there all together.
He's so
Like,
hopped up on
wait,
opium
what?
right now. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
For
Actually,
sure you are.
There you go.
That's not a
Technically,
good thing to be
because
right.
Sure, blame it on the opium.
technically, I would have been at disadvantage anyway because I'm on drugs right now. So there you go.
Makes perfect
That is
sense.
such the worst thing you could be on right now.
Yep, absolutely.
Behold my grace. I realize that this must come as a shock to you, and I apologize for speaking frankly in front of
These are my
compatriots.
friends.
So what made you think he was an anonymous spy?
People he kept company with.
Like whom?
The sort of people that someone who made his living gathering information intelligence for a foreign power. Questions he asked. You get to know a person over time, and I've gotten to know a great many people over a great amount of time.
Are some of those people the ones asking questions about me now?
I don't think that you are particularly involved in any
Subversive activities.
in the sorts of activities that would bring you that layer of heat.
Surely our son is not a benign spy.
Not to my knowledge.
In a way, I'm a little uncomfortable even having this conversation in here now. It has turned into a very different conversation than I thought I was coming to.
I apologize.
I think we should.
I didn't mean for events to take an uncomfortable.
No, I just mean there's so many ears and eyes around here, and I've had a very unusual feeling that we've been being watched all
Now,
day.
as a sidebar, you do a good service to yourself by being cautious, but this place does have a degree of pride. It's less public than public places.
Oh,
This isn't yet. I mean, Hashi
Okay, never mind.
is actually
I'll go
is
down
himself a former. I wouldn't say master thief,
okay.
but a thief.
Yeah, that was my
So-
concern, was that there's
Right.
too many prying eyes and ears here right
No.
near us that we potentially have problems with.
This sort of place, this place attracts a clientele that doesn't necessarily like to be
the work
watched,
does not be watched.
and he pays for people to not harass his
Okay.
insofar as such mechanisms exist
Right.
within the framework of this civilization. The people here are generally protected by their own devices and or by those of the house.
And you're sure that he wasn't just a merchant of goods that those particular sorts were interested in the wares of?
I'm certain of nothing, but I know people and I feel it in my gut. Others may be having the same conversation about me, and although they wouldn't be right in those respects, they would be right in their gut about other things about me, I'm certain. You live a length of years and everyone accumulates a story. But just remember, you're not your story. None of us is. Some of us have better stories than others.
True.
I wouldn't be too concerned. I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Yes.
Well, will it affect his business at all, do you think?
That his,
Such rumors.
these are not rumors, these are
said in quiet shadows. I don't think these are.
You don't think people will be talking about it the next morning?
There are questions that have been happening today.
I'm sure people are asking questions about Atlas also.
Atlas always has questions being asked about him. I was happy that you knew him.
Only by reputation, but I am happy to consider you in my acquaintance, Master Atlas.
Likewise, very much.
Now your father, he lets that trail off.
Or was his father a spy from somewhere else?
There have been inquiries about me that have been brought up, questioning whether we were involved in the Lotus trade. Very
That was one. That was
one. But that's the one that led into the rest of this conversation. I don't want to leave that, untouched. I want everyone to know what's, where the lines of questioning are starting to go, so that we can consider the value of them.
But mostly they were questions that related to your connection with him.
Oh, that was okay. Oh. Okay.
Looking for some side work.
No, I just realized how you were always carrying potions that aided people when they were in pain and injured, where those may have been from. It's just like a thought in my head, not necessarily a conversation. We're interested in upping our game, moving up the chain of merchants. That's why I've surrounded myself with people that I trust and I feel can really allow us to each other improve each other's stakes.
There's a great many opportunities right now. Fully a quarter of the city remains unbuilt from the invasion of 20 years ago.
25.
Even so, my dear, how is your chocolate? Can I get you something else? Can I get you anything else?
I'm sure this will be fine. Thank you so much.
Does he live in the wall?
No.
That would have been too easy too. Okay.
The chocolate is wonderful. I shall have to find a way of repaying you one day.
Well, I have a vivid and filthy imagination. Fortunately for both of us. More vivid than filthy, though. I am an old man. And I'm married. And she's vengeful.
Vengeful, but is she open-minded?
No, she's not. She's a horrible person. But you, my dear, you.
If I met his wife right now, do I know his wife?
Yeah, probably not.
We have been making some inroads into another industry that carries some risk. One of the people we are working with is a silk merchant, and of course there's the Dyers Guild.
You don't wanna fuck with them.
We don't. Correct. We want to make sure that we avoid any of that, but we don't know necessarily how is the right way to approach them with merchandise that we want to bring in regularly from Kemet.
Do we know what he specializes in?
He
specializes.
He's
a broker.
He's a broker in the stock market. So.
With more commodities going out of the city, I think, right?
Yeah.
Being collectively gathered and then sold out. But he would know all merchants.
People whose stock may be even outside of the thing. They do the purchasing here.
Right.
Depending on the commodity.
Would you know the head of the Dyers Guild?
Potiphar the Fat. Yes, he's quite. He's a very difficult and important man to know.
We would like to know him.
Well, a great many people would.
We would like to know him because we can bring in some product. And we want to bring in some product, and we want to make sure that he is paid his due.
If you are looking to start a new route from Kemet, you were looking to import silk from Kemet.
Yes.
have insurance?
We have interest at a station in the city higher than the Dyers Guild. So our insurance is that there would be buyers already, and there would be no way he could remove our ownership of the route.
Well, perhaps, but the Dyers Guild does have the monopoly of
Yes,
importing and exporting within the city.
right. We would like to make sure that if we're bringing this in, that they get their
You would like to be sure that you can bring it in.
Yes.
Is what the real
yes.
issue is. Let me see what I can do.
Thank you.
I doubt that. Let me see what I can do.
Wonderful.
You don't get the sense that, I mean, he's not gonna, he's an honest broker. You
Yeah.
get the sense. I mean, when I say
He'll make
honest,
an inquiry.
yeah, you get the sense.
And follow up if need, once or twice to see.
Thank you so much, Alejandro.
Thank you, my dear. To be continued.
I do have one question before we go. I do remember a lot of the associates that my father had, by face mostly, because as a child I was basically cleaning shop.
Better with faces than names.
Yes. I would love to, now that my mind is thinking, I'm going to go back and kind of recollect all of these people. And you don't have to name names because I know that's not what you do, but would I, going through my recollections, do you think that I would connect some of the dots to what my father was doing through those people? Did they come to him that way as customers and things like that?
I believe that the meatiest part of his professional days were long gone before you came into his life. And so his connections were from a previous life, an existence that I think that he no longer pursued.
How many other people do you think know of this? Because anybody else that knows is potentially a threat to me
This
and
is
to
true.
people I know.
Anyone that knew of it would certainly be a threat. I suspect that most of the people, most of the players who participated are themselves dead. And perhaps Rasul was going back to protect you, knowing that he had created a separate life and existence for himself here, as many who serve the Dread Overlord have been known to do. He may have been trying to forestall the very eventuality, perhaps by his returning, he hoped to close that possibility. And you can be
Much to
assured,
ponder.
you can rest with all certainty, my boy, that you are protected here from anything. And I know that your own life has been disinvolved with such things. Regardless, you're a Vadisharan. Nothing's going to happen to you here.
Then I'll stay here.
So you finish up.
And should you find yourself in need of my skills, you know where to find me.
I do, and I will.
And should you find yourself in need of mine, you know where to find me as well.
I'll have one more.
And Anupam loves to fight in the arena occasionally.
I'd put me out there, huh?
You probably won't need his skills.
I've owned many arena fighters in my day. in partnership with people who knew what they were doing.
Well, that's refreshing to hear.
Let me see your knuckles. Well, I can tell you have some skills and some strength behind you.
More finesse than anything.
Strength in here. All right, friends.
Thank you very much for the chocolate and the accompaniment. We'll speak again soon. That's for sure.
Yes, thank you for the chocolate. My first time ever having it, it was quite nice actually.
And thank you as well.
Toodaloo.
It was really wonderful seeing you.
What do you do?
Well,
Does he walk off?
does he walk off or are we walking off?
No, he's there. He's there. Yeah.
We'll head out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's.
You called us here?
I wanted you to meet
Did Kamsal continue with his
Eliandro.
Oh, he went.
Business?
He's.
By the way, it was by Ellie to us.
Some of his people are
You'd probably let you call him.
playing dice, and he's snuggled up with some of the local
You
talent,
most definitely would let you call it.
some of the working talent.
I honestly didn't expect that to be where this conversation went. And I hope you don't think anything worse of me by hearing things that, honestly, I don't even know if it's true, but I believe him, that he thinks that people believed he was what he said he was.
To hold the sins of the father over the sins of the child is illogical and just means nothing.
It's the way of the world.
Exactly.
It's familial.
There could also be the medicine talking right now. I have no idea, to be fair.
Indeed. We've given him a lot of drugs.
I'm quite out of my head right now.
Lotus dealer inside was inquiring as to whether we were dealing in Lotus in some way, which I think is very interesting that he would show up on Lotus.
Hey man, I have a prescription.
Well,
What were you gonna
it
say?
was not Lotus that we gave him.
I was just going to try to be more aware of when we're exiting. Just,
Everybody's hold on a
Right
second,
now.
hold on a second, guys. Atlas has the.
I was just gonna, with all that's transpired, just as we're exiting, just to see if anybody's taking undue notice of us.
Give me a perception roll.
Come, let's get you
Give me a,
back.
a perception roll at +2.
That puts me at 24.
Okay. And so as you leave, you see people. Where were you guys planning on heading? I mean, there's people milling about. It's later. It's
We're
it's,
heading
it's
out into
early.
the street and I guess walking, I guess then to the ziggurat. I
I'm
suspect.
taking.
I think
I'm
we're just
taking
kind of
her.
wandering more.
Gonna get something to eat.
Chocolate and liquor is not really filling.
Find something close by.
Okay.
Can go over to the Gilded Palm.
And you see as you
That'd be
go
good.
over. Oh, the Gilded Palm is next door. Actually, it's just
Oh, yeah, so we're
two,
going-
two, you know, like right down the street. Yeah,
Okay.
like literally next door, basically. You cross over a street, and as you cross to go to the Gilded Palm, you notice Atlas, a man looking at you. He's dressed. He's got a hood up over his head, and you see he makes eye contact with you, and then he looks away, and then he looks back at you, and looks away, and then the third time he makes eye contact with you, he starts walking towards you.
I've had an odd feeling today that I've been being watched. Everywhere I've gone, I never spotted who.
Always trust your instincts. They're usually
And you see somebody approaching you.
Reaching behind, just putting my hand on a dagger.
No, I come as a friend. I am sent from my master, Khalil Azmi.
Do we know that name?
The three of you make a roll. You make it at a hard.
This perception?
I'm sorry. You make it at hard, moderate, easy. This would be a history roll.
17.
Do I don't know that.
You make it. You know who Khalid Azmi is.
10.
Okay, no.
Who is he?
Okay. You know the name. He does what you do. He has
Another store.
But-
Another vendor?
yes, but what he does is that it's like you have a boutique a boutique store shop, and he has the sharper image, and it's vast, you know, and you actually know him because you go to him for the Endosian cobalt varnished clams. He's your supplier of those. You are a middleman. You have people.
I know him.
Not this guy. This is
I know.
his master. Yeah.
So what is?
He would like to invite you, great Effendis, to come with me, and young lady. Oh, another one of those natural 20. I'm going to palm that one. Save that for later when I need it. Against Anopalm. He says, I would like to welcome you. My master would have you come and dine with him this night.
We were just going to dine. We would be happy. What an interesting night.
And it's a very sumptuous establishment.
Seafood might be good for you.
Yes. It would
So step up from the golden
whatever it
pond.
is that's in my system right now.
Well, it's a business. I mean, it's not a restaurant.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right. This is more of
We're
a
going to that.
right.
to the
Yeah,
merchant.
yeah. He's a merchant, and it's a large emporium
Gotcha.
that has the most expensive carpets, stacks and stacks of the most expensive carpets. That has very expensive pistachios. That has fresh. I mean, everything is sort of it's evening now, so things are put away, covered up, etc. But
Shops are shuttered up.
right. But this would be a guy that would have a regular supply of everything that you would need to, to sell these. And you make a living getting stuff, that because he peels off a part of his merchandise. Some people only want to buy from specialty stores, so he peels off a part of his thing to other merchants that he'll sell to, and so him through that, and particularly with the cobalt varnished clams, which are these clams that are blue inside, which are the spectacular blue, so which the archpriest buys from you at a premium. So you get to his emporium, and it's mostly you walk through the stalls within. It's almost like it's almost like a soup by itself. It's also I should say it's located just outside the gardens of Kamal.
Oh.
Because he has an extraordinary that's his clientele.
Yeah.
And he has perfume made from whales, from whale oil. It's all everything is.
I give him the full.
He tells you everything.
I don't know what the traditions are, whether it's 2 kisses on the cheek and hugs, whatever it is.
Come in, my friend. Thank you. It is so good to see you.
Thank you. I don't think you've met my friends. We were all coming this way, but we're working together now, and in the new place that I'm establishing.
Everybody make a perception roll, except for you.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty good. 17.
20.
Okay.
Also 17.
Okay. So, firstly, he's an older man, probably around the same age as Eliandro. He looks. There's something about him. He speaks heavily accent. He speaks the standard tongue, which is Khalifan, by the way. I should mention to everybody. I know we've been sort of talking about languages and whatnot. I want everybody to know that the standard tongue, the common tongue, is the language that's spoken here in Badashar, the Valley of Khalifa. Just FYI, because we were talking about it.
Okay, so common is basically Khalifan.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Exactly. And he speaks heavily accented. He looks older, and you see that he has eye decoration. Like makeup.
Bindi?
Hmm?
Oh, like makeup.
Makeup, right. What did that?
Bindi.
Which is?
It's basically like a
Dot.
dot.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's
I
what,
got you.
Or, and, I
Right.
mean, like, yeah, you
Tattoos.
can have
Yes.
Yeah,
He.
makeup.
or
Correct,
or-
correct, yeah.
Or
Right, exactly. Right, I got you. Yeah, he has some sort of makeup like coal. There might be some jewelry attending to it also. Maybe some small pieces of precious stones. You know. So you embrace, and he says, "Please come in, my friends. I am sorry if I have taken you from your." His name is Khalil Azmi.
You saved us from eating some very bad food.
Well, I will hopefully make it worth your while to dine with me.
By the way, from seeing him and like hearing his name and everything, can I tell like if he's like maybe from Goma or Gandhara or something like that?
Perhaps Rakshasan.
Make a
Wow.
perception roll. These pricks.
Driving that
These
into
friends
it.
are yours.
Yeah.
What would this be again? What role is this again?
What do we call it? Perception?
Maybe history.
History?
Well, I mean, history is lower than my perception, but you know. I mean, it's
Make
whatever you
make it a perception.
All right, that makes it an 18 then.
So, versus what would it have been if it was a history roll?
15.
Okay, you can tell he's not from Gandhara. Well, no, you can definitely tell that his accent it's not accented Gandharan or Goman, or Gomis rather, but it almost sounds like some of his words, although he speaks fluently Khalifan, he sounds almost like some of his inflections sound like the way Kepri speaks.
Huh.
We're very happy to have gotten the invitation.
Yes, thank you. Khalil, is it?
Indeed. And what is your name again, my
Sabine.
precious one? Sabine, what a lovely name.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us in your place of business.
Anupam and Atlas.
And he takes you to actually past the business part to I guess it's not really his home, but it is an area.
This romper room.
Yeah, exactly right. And both of you make a perception roll.
I was gonna say, have I been in there before to buy? Does he have some of the hard to find herbs?
14.
From the Far East.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably why you recognize him or know him. You rolled a 14, you said?
19.
And so you were all made comfortable on couches in the local custom, and they bring wine and refreshments to eat. And you see that one of the people that comes in amongst the slaves who are laying out food, there's another slave. He's an older man. And you seem to recognize him. You're pretty sure you've seen him before. You don't really remember in what connection. I mean, he doesn't look like somebody you know.
Okay.
But he looks like somebody that you've seen.
Banishar?
Yeah, I mean, recently. But you don't really know what the connection is.
I'll just kind of watch what he does.
Okay. Well, he appears to be sort of watching his master and watching each of you make a perception roll. Another perception.
All of us?
Or actually make an insight roll.
14.
Okay. And you're fetid.
Nice. I just lean over to Arslan and say, the one over here, he seems to have a very keen interest in us.
So, you brought us here. I wonder if there are things to be moving. Is this something we should have in private? Maybe.
That is an excellent think, my friend. Abdullah! And most everybody bows, puts down what they were, their charge, whatever the hell, and turns and leaves, except for the one that you saw. And
I make eye contact with Sabine.
And Khalil motions for him to come in. And he's a man probably around Azmi, Khalil Azmi's age. And he doesn't particularly seem threatening to you. He's not wearing, voluminous, clothing. He's dressed appropriately to the setting. This is my slave, Dirham. This is my friend Arslan and his friends. Effendis, lady.
Is he newly acquired? Do I remember him?
You don't necessarily know who his slaves are.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's a very rich guy.
Yeah.
He may live in the gardens of
I'm hoping. No.
He might. He might.
But he knows who does.
Dirhan has long been in my service. But before that, he was in the service of a very powerful man here in Vadishar. A man named Count Lerneus Palamon. Tell me, my friends,
You've heard that name earlier today.
what do you know of the treasure house of the lictors? And that's where we're gonna stop for tonight.
I saw that coming a mile away. I saw it coming. I was like, as soon as you were saying that line, I was oh, he's gonna stop it right there. The asshole. He's gonna stop it right there.
I know, it's a good place to stop. I was actually we. No. Well, it's done. Let's not.
It's too late now. It's coming back.
Goodbye. Say goodbye. It's coming back.
It's coming back.
Just for a moment. Go
Are
ahead.
we back? Okay, well,
Just for a second.
anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We'll have all of this information from tonight's notes from episode 12. Do you ever get the feeling? And also our notes on the Gardens of Kamal will be on Patreon sometime by midweek, all right? Our Christmas present to you. Thank you very much. And if you want to jump on Patreon, they go to patreon.com/ZealZaddy, all right? Thank you very much for your support, and thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.